Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Ed Thorose, and I'm president of Honey Badger. And it's a pleasure to share our story with you. We are, I think the first thing I should mention or disclose is that we're a bit of a different company than most of the companies at this conference. We are a silver aggregator as opposed to a pure play exploration development company. We do believe that silver is undervalued and that silver assets are undervalued. And so our goal is to acquire silver assets and at various stages of advancement and to be maximally leveraged to the silver price. So we're sort of engineering a company that's exposed to silver and should do well if silver goes up. So it's almost like a financial company as opposed to a pure play exploration or development company. And so our objective is to sort of acquire three classes of assets. The first being district scale, high grade silver properties with a lot of blue sky potential. Number two would be deposits with ounces in the ground with silver resources. And number three would be cash flowing streams and royalties. We have number one and two, but we're working on three. And our objective with these assets would be to do very modest and contained programs to daylight value, de-risk them, and ultimately to monetize them in better markets, perhaps retaining a stream or royalty on these assets. So before I go much further, I should introduce, I guess, Chad Williams. Many of you will recognize the name. He is a mover and shaker in the mining world. As Chen just said, he's a 15% shareholder of the company. And Honey Badger is his brainchild in terms of this concept. Chad is the founder of Red Cloud Securities, which is a broker-dealer based in Toronto. He created this company 7 years ago. It's focused exclusively on the mining industry, and it's raised billions of dollars for mining companies over the last few years in very difficult markets. Prior to Red Cloud, Chad was the CEO of Victoria Gold, and Chad took over the reins of Victoria Gold in 2007 and 2008 in the depths of the financial crisis. He grew it to a $500 million company over 3-4 years through acquisitions, culminating with the acquisition of the Dublin Gulch Eagle Gold Project, today a producing gold mine in the Yukon. And prior to that, he was a top-ranked mining analyst with TD. So Chad Williams took over management of Honey Badger 2 years ago, so it's a fairly young company. And with the objective of creating this silver vehicle with exposure is silver. During this time, we've put together a very strong board and a small but focused management team. And our focus has been on M&A because we do think, as I said, that silver assets are cheap and now is the time to be buying. So we have a constant screening process. We're constantly evaluating different opportunities that come our way and constantly in negotiations at different stages of negotiation with different counterparties. And we've completed 3 transactions in a short period of time, and we're working on our fourth. I'll discuss those in a little while. I think one thing I should emphasize is that with our connections through Chad and our board and Red Cloud, we do have access to a lot of M&A ideas and deals and opportunities, more so than you would for a small junior. And we also have ability to raise capital, access capital, more so for a smaller company. So here's a listing of the assets currently in our portfolio. These are all in Canada right now, 100% owned by Honey Badger. All of these assets were acquired in the last 18 months, with the exception of the Thunder Bay properties. Clear Lake is a SEDEX deposit in the Yukon. It's got 1.3 billion pounds of zinc and 5 million ounces of silver. Plata, Groundhog, and High are all district scale, high grade silver properties in the Yukon. I'll provide a bit more color on those as well. And in Thunder Bay, we have 12,000 hectares in historic silver camp, very high grades, sort of forgotten by time. I'll provide a bit of color on those as well. And importantly, in June, we announced the acquisition of Cachinal. This is in Chile. This transaction is going to close in the next few weeks or by October. Cachinal hosts a 20 million ounce silver resource done by SRK in 2020. And I'll provide a bit more color on it fairly soon as well. I do want to give a brief introduction to our board. In addition to Chad, who is the chairman, who owns 15%, we have Doug Eaton. Doug Eaton is a veteran Yukon geologist, decades of experience in the Yukon, was a partner at Archer Cathro, which is a blue chip consulting firm in the Yukon. John Hill is an investment banker based in the US, huge capital markets experience in the US as well as on the mining side, chairman of the Denver Gold Group, which hosts the Denver Gold Show. Very good connections in the US, both the mining side and the capital market side. Brian Briggs is a highly seasoned mining engineer, a lot of underground mining experience, as well as building processing plants and the like. Also based in the US, a huge amount of experience in the mining industry. So this is our capital structure slide. We trade under the ticker TUF, TUF. Yeah, we have been treading water for the last few months, like many companies, between 5 and 7 cents. We have a 10 million market cap, so it's not a big company, I guess you could say. But I think the point to make is that right now the markets are not giving us value, even though we've been creating value over the last few months, we think. And at some point, attention will come back to our sector, and I think at that point they'll be reflected in our stock chart. I won't go too much into the silver supply and demand drivers, just to say that silver combines the best of base metal and precious metals, and it is the ultimate green metal along with copper. And as Chen alluded to, and others have alluded during this conference, as the green energy revolution takes off, especially demand coming through solar panels and electric vehicles, should bode well for silver demand as well. So let me just provide a bit of color on Cachinao. So this is the transaction we're expecting to close in the next few weeks. It is a low sulfidation epithermal silver deposit in Chile. It's got 20 million ounces on the books, of which 15 million ounces are in an open pit. We'll be looking at different options on how to progress with this asset. We could contemplate high-grade starter pits. There's definitely a potential for higher grade feeder structures at depth for an underground we want to look at. And the greater property has seen very little exploration. Much of the property is undercover. These type of structures rarely occur in isolation. There's probably other structures as well in the greater property. And the important thing to point out with Cachinao is that it's just 16 kilometers north of a producing gold mine owned by Austral Gold. And so their mill and mine complex is underfed, has capacity. They hosted us on a side tour 10 days ago. I was up there. And so, yeah, we have good relations with those guys. We'll see what comes out of that. Clear Lake is a SEDEX deposit we bought in the Yukon in May. We paid $250,000 cash for it. So pennies per ounce or pennies per pound, I guess. It's a very cheap value. And it's a massive sulfide deposit. Important thing to point out is that it has a Class 3 land use permit. We can drill up to 30,000 meters. This is the type of deposit we would probably spin out into a base metal vehicle or to sell to a base metal producer or developer at some point in the future. Lots of different options for us with this asset. Plata is a high-grade district-scale property that we have in the Yukon. The takeaway for Plata is that it's a geological dead ringer for the Keno Hill Silver District in the Yukon. It has the same geological characteristics as Keno Hill, which has produced 200 million ounces of silver in the past. There has been small-scale production at Plata, 300,000 ounces of very high-grade silver produced. We did a small program there last summer. Pulled out bonanza grade silver values, doing channel sampling and grab sampling, kilograms per ton of silver. And there are 30 showings like this on the property. It really has incredible blue sky potential, and we'll be looking at how to advance that in the future as well. Groundhog, similarly, in the Yukon, it's a district scale property. Two major trends on Groundhog. Lots of showings that have never been drilled or explored. Lots of very high-grade values for silver, lead, and zinc on this property. Very interesting property. And lastly, we have Thunder Bay. So this is we have 12,000 hectares in a historic camp that was in production in the late 1800s. It's produced 5 million ounces of very high-grade silver. When the cobalt discoveries were made in eastern Ontario, so people's sort of attention shifted to cobalt, so this was forgotten by time. Never seen modern exploration, or very little modern exploration in this camp. So those are sort of our assets. And as a takeaway, I'd like to just mention that, so if you're thinking of silver, think Honey Badger. We're doing everything to position ourselves to be maximally leveraged to increasing silver price. And that's it. Thank you.